It's been far too long since Jose Mourinho was in the public eye. Well, he changed that, talking to L'Equipe and reminding everyone. He said, I said 9 or 10 months ago that after winning 8 championships, finishing second with Manchester United last year may have been my greatest achievement. Now people understand. Well, we do remember him very well saying that last year, and I think generally we scoffed at the notion that it was his biggest achievement, but... Where does the truth lie? Was it actually a fantastic achievement to get this United team to second place last year?
I'm not sure we believe that was a great achievement. I mean, he's won titles, he's won lots of things. What he was trying to say is that there was problems behind the scenes. There was problems with some of the players. There was some fractious relationships between the players and him. The owners or the people that were in charge of the signings didn't do a particularly good job. They weren't all working together. And unless you're working all together at a football club, you're always going to struggle. I think that's what he was trying to imply, that the players didn't have the right attitude, certain members of the playing staff, and some of the people in the hierarchy, I presume he's talking about Ed Woodward, wasn't backing Jose Mourinho in some of the transfers. And that's why... He believes that was a good result, getting second in the league.
And he says those problems are very much still there at Manchester United, Stevie.
Yeah, there's no question they are still there, but, you know, is he actually going to go running around patting himself on the back about what he did at Manchester United?
He's pretty good at blowing his own trumpet, isn't he?
I'll tell you what, listen, they did finish second, but you know what? Liverpool won one of the last 4 because they were in the Champions League final and were trying to get in the Champions League final. So I'm not buying all this nonsense. Listen, if he can take a side, supposedly, as he said, to second place and then sign players and then get the sack when they're in 7th place, I'm not so sure I'll be going around trying to remind everybody of what I actually did. Because he's the guy in charge of what happens on the field.
And he was able to spend a lot of money, wasn't he, at Manchester United? And some of the signings, if you buy players, you've got to make sure you get the best out of them. And he certainly did that. Your job as a coach is to manage the players, to get them to play in a certain system, to get the best out of them. Then you've got to make sure that you're the face of the club. He didn't give a very happy face of that Manchester United club, and everybody turned against him. And that he was part of the problem why there was fractions between the players and himself.
So now the question becomes, can Ole Gunnar Solskjaer be successful if things behind the scenes don't change, if it's still the same Manchester United?
Well, you know, I understand your question.
Yeah.
But the question is, if things do change behind the scenes, can Ole Gunnar Solskjaer make this team better? Does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have the tools, if he's given the players, to put Manchester United back to where they supposedly belong?
Yeah.
I don't think he does. And I don't think there's going to be that many changes behind the scenes.
So you think whether things change or don't change, really the question is on Solskjaer himself, yeah?
Well, Solskjaer's got to be a very good coach, he's got to be a good man manager, and he's got to do a great recruitment job. But to do the recruitment job, you need people at the top of the club to make sure they back you, they give you the money to do it, and back your judgment. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's going to make those right decisions. I'm sure he's trying to make those right decisions now to get the right players into the club, get other players out.
How many times when a team's successful do we sit here, or anybody else ever, and fans, programmes, you name it, media, when do we ever sit and go, oh, do you know what, that boardroom and that backroom team, they are absolutely fantastic. Oh, by the way, the manager weren't bad and the players weren't bad. When do we ever say that? We don't.
Well, there's one solace for Manchester United in what was a wretched end to the season. They figured very heavily in our man Mark Ogden's underperforming team of the season. Maybe that's not much of a consolation, but look at that. Out of the 11, 6 Manchester United players picked by Ogden, De Gea, Jones and Smalling for starters at the back, Fred and Pogba. Is this fair, do you think? I mean...
What do you mean Jones and Smalling?
Right.
We knew they weren't up to the so-called standard of your Steve Bruce's or your Nemanja Vidic or any of these guys, so I think that's a little harsh. I also think the Jesus one's a little harsh. You know, he's had his injury troubles and he's got to try and knock a guy called Aguero out. I think that's a little harsh.
What about Marcus Alonso? Marcus Alonso, we know, and we said it right at the start of the season, he's great playing as a wing-back, he can get forward, but it's no surprise that he leaves spaces in behind him. He doesn't defend particularly well. And he got his injury, then he got out the side, so I think that was a bit unfair. I was happy to see Jorginho in there. That was always going to be...
Right from the start, you were on that one, Stuart, Jorginho.
In my view, he's not a holding midfield player. He's a nice footballer, that can pass square and backwards, but he's not a good holding midfield player. He hasn't got the attributes to be a top-class holding midfield player.
I'm actually on the cusp of whether Pogba deserves to be there. Because up until Mourinho left, you could have sympathy with him and say that, you know, your manager's slaughtering you, you're not even playing half the time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the change of manager, that 10-game winning streak, was it? I'll tell you what, he was absolutely front and centre, and the big reasons why they
PFA put him in the team.
I was going to say, his fellow pros voted him into the...
So, yes, the last 10 didn't go so well, but imagine what would Man United be like without that?
So he's the player they're going to build their team around, is that right?
Oh, yeah, he asked me this yesterday, and I told you no.
We will continue this discussion probably all summer long, but also tomorrow. Stuart, you are back with your fellow Arsenal teammate Paul Mariner on the show as well, Ali Moreno on the next edition of FC. Now we take you from Italy to the Netherlands. Ajax trying to wrap up the Eredivisie title. They were taking on De Graafschap. Frankie de Jong in his final game, of course, for Ajax. It was Lasse Schöne, though, who scored the opener.
Really good free kick. Just wraps his foot round it, gets it over the top of the wall. He's a good technical player, Lasse Schöne.
Well, De Graafschap had equalised a few minutes later, but Ajax went into the break 2-1 up thanks to that goal from Tagliafico.
Yeah, nice run from Zayt here. Tagliafico does well. He gets this out his feet. Probably shouldn't to win as well, but it's in the back of the net.
All doubt removed midway through the second half as de Jong was upended.
Well, he broke away from his holding midfield position to get into the box, brought down, and Tadic with a very good finish.
And then Tadic, just for good measure, wrapping things up.
Well, you could say the keeper gets beat his near post, but that's got some power in it.
They needed the win, or they needed at least a point, just to be sure. They rounded out in fine style. Ajax crowned as Eredivisie champions. PSV were the side that ran them close, but in the end, Ajax getting the job done, crowning what was a remarkable season for that young side. Of course, a young side who are now going to be broken up for the most part.
Looks like it.
De Jong on his way, De Ligt on his way.
They should have been in the Champions League final.
Should have been.
They outplayed Spurs for quite a long period in those games, but then just
you saw them both, I know.
Yeah, they didn't defend well enough in that second game.
Yeah.
Llorente winning balls in the air. Ajax didn't defend well. They should have been in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because they're going to get the heart ripped out of them with De Ligt and de Jong, but hey, they can do it again, I'm sure.
Ajax-Liverpool would have been a great final, wouldn't it? We will see it next time on FC. Here we go with extra time. Business end of the season, isn't it, gents? Trophies getting handed out. Coppa Italia today. Dutch league title. Yeah. Big news.
It's good to see Ajax got changed and got into their proper strip to receive the award.
Indeed. How important is it, asked Kartik, to have a trophy at the end of the season? If you'd slogged your way through a long season, and you're sitting there in Torremolinos at the end of the
everybody wants a trophy. Everybody wants a trophy.
Well, this is the man to ask the question to. He won how many trophies?
A lot.
Right. A lot. So he's the man to ask.
So then, what did it feel like if you were sat at the end of the year and you didn't have a trophy?
No, that was
did it feel
devastating.
indifferent? Yeah. So how
But then there's not. Listen, I was lucky that I played with a side that when I joined them were fantastic, and the teams before them were fantastic, and there was a bar that had been set that incredibly Liverpool teams kept a standard to for what, 25, 30 years.
So when you came second, or you didn't win anything, it was a
disaster. Right.
It was a disaster. But that's not normal.
Yeah.
You know, normal is, can you win something? You know, for supporters and players and fans. Everything.
So if Liverpool don't win the Champions League this year, they go to, where did you say, Torremolinos?
Torremolinos.
And they'll be very unhappy with themselves.
Well, yes, they will be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm assuming part of this is leading to the question of a Liverpool if they don't win anything. But
it's still been a great season, isn't it?
It's still been a great season, but from a point of view of silverware, it's not been successful.
Yeah. I know you didn't lift as much silverware in your time, Stuart, but Is there something to this? I mean, if you sat there as a player at the end of the year and you have won something and you don't normally win, does it feel different?
I'm sure. Yeah, if you've won something,
even just a League Cup.
Yeah, some clubs will be very happy with that.
Yeah.
If you're expected to win and you don't win, I think the disappointment's even greater.
Do you know? Actually, the answer to this question is it's all relevant where you are and what's expected.
What the expectations were. Yeah.
Listen, I played the third round, as I've told you before, for the first time ever of the FA Cup for non-league Doncaster, and we won. And I'll tell you what, it was absolutely fantastic. We had about 300 supporters with us. Everybody was on the field.
Yeah.
We were all hugging each other. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, that was success to us.
Right. Well, what about a guy upon whom there may be some pressure to win a trophy? What do you guys think about the rumours of Maurizio Sarri getting the sack, even if Chelsea win the Europa League final? And then, apparently Frank Lampard is going to take over, says Hussein.
I liked Sarri at Napoli. I thought his style of football was excellent. I thought he got his tactics right. They played wonderful football. They looked as though they were threatening. He didn't get it right at Chelsea. He made one or two, I think, strange decisions. He was stubborn with the way he wanted to play. When things weren't quite going right, he carried on doing the same things over and over again. But they've finished the season quite well. And if he comes third and he wins the Europa League, I think he's got every right to be in the job next season.
So what about these rumours he's going to go regardless? What happens in
I don't believe any of them. Listen, if you listen to what he's been saying recently, he's been talking about they've reached their goals, which makes me think that the goal was clearly to try and win something, but
They still might win something.
Champions League. You need to get us in the Champions League.
Whether he goes or stays, you touched on this in the show, Frank Lampard. Obviously, a good day for him with Derby County. They've reached the Championship playoff final. Does he have the makings of?
I'm sure he does.
A manager that could.
He's a great student of the game. I knew Frank Lampard when he was very young. His dad
pushed school for that.
His dad pushed him and pushed him and pushed him. He was always thinking about football.
Yeah.
He's a good student of the game. He talks very well when he's been on TV. I think he's done a good coaching job so far at Derby County, a decent one. But I think he needs another couple more years to prove himself before he takes the big job like Chelsea.
He's been sensible, hasn't he? He started at the right sort of level, a Championship team with Premier League ambitions, but...
Yeah, he's been smart that he's starting where he has a chance.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the one thing that I hear when I talk to former players who want to be coaches. Their first job was a hiding to nothing.
Yeah.
They basically had no chance.
You only get one chance.
And you only get one chance, yeah. So when you start horribly or it all goes all wrong, you kind of get labelled. And so he's picked wisely. He's got a chance, and he's got a great chance of putting them in the Premier League
against his old mate John Terry, who's the coach at Aston Villa.
That will be something. They've only got 12 days to wait for that Championship playoff final at Wembley. You can see that on Plus, by the way. You can see the next edition of our show. Stuart will be back. Paul Mariner will be joining him. Ali Moreno on board as well. We'll see you then.